This is WNSC, University of Central Florida, Orlando, and you're listening to Box Office Breakdown. I'm Ryan Hill.
And I'm Dylan Johnson. Today we're going to be talking about the box office numbers from last weekend and our box office predictions for this upcoming weekend.
We will also be giving reviews for Captain Marvel and Triple Frontier.
The time is 4 o'clock on March 21st, Ryan. Have you seen anything good lately?
Actually, I did just finish the third film in the Maze Runner trilogy, which has been a long time coming. The series is based on the young adult book series of the same name by James Dashner. It stars Dylan O'Brien as the main character, Thomas, and the cast is rounded out by promising young actors like Thomas Brody Sangston, who was in Game of Thrones, actually, Ki Hong Lee, Will Poulter, and Rosa Salazar, who was Alita. The series also features the likes of Giancarlo Esposito and Aidan Gillen, and the basic plot is that Thomas and friends need to rescue one of their captured friends from some love interest of the main characters, who now works for an evil organization that's trying to find the death cure.
All right.
Yeah. So, how about you?
Well, I've been catching up on Game of Thrones recently, which you know about. I'm on the end of season 6. I'm about to watch the big battle episode that everybody keeps raving about to me.
It's a very good one.
Yeah. And I'm trying to catch up for the new and final season, which is premiering April 14th.
All right. Well, we're all excited about that. Anyway, we've had some cooler weather here in Central Florida. What's going on with that, Dylan?
Well, the temperatures are going to pick up to the low 80s by Tuesday, then drop again around Wednesday, back to the mid-70s. There are also going to be strong winds all week and a very low chance of rain. It's very nice out today, and it'll be very nice out for the rest of the week, I hope. What is the traffic like around here today, Ryan?
Well, looking at the parking garages, as always, H is pretty full with 92%, and behind that, Garage C is at 87%, and all around 70% is Garage B, Garage D, and Garage I. So those are likely your better bets. And that takes us into our look at the recent movie and television news. What do we got, Dylan?
Well, first off, very exciting. James Gunn, the writer-director of Marvel's smash hit Guardians of the Galaxy movies, has been reinstated as director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 of the highly adored trilogy. Recall that he was fired from Disney executives last July after old offensive tweets of his were circulated. Gunn is still expected to complete work on The Suicide Squad, which is a reboot of DC's 2016 Suicide Squad movie, which he signed on to back in October. This means that while Guardians of the Galaxy's final film will be helmed by the same visionary, we'll have to wait quite a while before we see it. Production reportedly won't begin until 2021. Are you excited about that, Ryan?
I am. I think it'll be very worth the wait.
I know people are saying it's one of the best scripts they've ever read. The people who have read the scripts, and they say that it's profound and emotional, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited about that too. And it seems, I mean, we obviously can't speak to what happens in Endgame or anything like that, but apparently we might be seeing like all those characters in Galaxy 3, like that'll truly be the end for those. So like those storylines will be wrapped up. And if so, then it would be as profound and emotional as people have been saying.
Absolutely.
All right. Another upcoming movie of interest is Hustlers, with an all-star cast which brings Jennifer Lopez, Riverdale's Lily Reinhart, Constance Wu from Crazy Rich Asians, Keke Palmer, Julia Stiles, and the film debut for Cardi B. The Styx Entertainment film reportedly will follow savvy former strippers who turn the tables on Wall Street clients. From the talent alone, this seems to be another expected win for Styx Entertainment, a production/distribution/finance company which started only back in 2014.
Wow.
In 2016, just 2 years in, it garnered its first $100 million movie in Bad Moms faster than any other production company ever. In 2019, The Upside defied the Kevin Hart controversy to also pass $100 million at the worldwide box office. And with upcoming films like Ugly Dolls slated for May 3rd of this year, the Cardi B/J-Lo led Hustlers is looking to be another one of the success for the young entertainment company.
All right. And it certainly seems like, well, we'll be mentioning Styx in our box office breakdown segment more often as time goes on. In other news, some new information has risen from Christopher Nolan's new picture, which I am very excited about. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan.
Even though we know nothing about it.
We know nothing about it. It is shrouded in absolute mystery. The movie, which is said to release summer 2020, has been described as an event film.
Which is all of the films that Nolan does.
Exactly. What that means exactly is unknown. However, it was revealed this past week that some of the cast has been filled. First, we learned that John David Washington has been cast. Washington is known for his groundbreaking lead role in Spike Lee's Black Klansman from last year, and is the son of legendary actor Denzel Washington. Soon after, it was announced that Robert Pattinson has also joined the production, who we know is from the Twilight series and Harry Potter Goblet of Fire as Cedric Diggory. And Elizabeth Debicki, known for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Widows. None of the actors have worked with Nolan before, and we consider it only a matter of time until one of Nolan's regulars is cast, like Michael Caine, Tom Hardy, or Cillian Murphy.
Who did Elizabeth Debicki play in Volume 2?
She was Aisha of the Sovereign, the leader of the Golden People, yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. In other news, James Corden has been tapped to host the 2019 Tony Awards. This will be his second time hosting after his 2016 gig that showed a spike in viewership by 2 million screens, a drastic increase considering the recent pitfall that the Tonys have taken. Not to mention that James Corden is also a Tony Award winner for Best Actor in A Play for One Man, Two Gunvers, back in 2012. His turn as host back in 2016 was heavily praised as one of the best hosts since Neil Patrick Harris or Hugh Jackman.
In other news, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter have announced that Bill and Ted Face the Music will be released in the summer of 2020. Winter and Reeves' first appearance as Bill and Ted, respectively, was in 1989's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They reprised the roles in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey back in 1991, and they briefly starred in an animated Bill and Ted series at the same time. It has been almost 30 years since they donned the roles, and they are here to return in Bill and Ted Face the Music. The movie will feature Bill and Ted as middle-aged dads still trying to crank out a hit song and fulfill their destiny to save the universe during a time-traveling adventure.
Are you excited about that?
In a way.
You did not seem very enthusiastic.
I haven't seen Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, but I have seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and it's excellent in some aspects. It's very funny. I think it's funny. It was one of the first movies that really launched Keanu Reeves' career, along with like Dangerous Liaisons and The Matrix, of course. So it's good to see him like acknowledging and coming back to his roots, and I think it's not so much to make money. It's kind of like to finish out the a trilogy of these movies, because I don't think they left it off very well with Bogus Journey.
Yeah, you did not sell me on that, by the way. But that's okay. We'll talk more about that later on as we find more information out about it. But right now we're going to move into our trailer talk segment. Several new trailers have been released recently, and we're going to start with the much anticipated Toy Story 4. In the trailer, we see a new toy called Forky, even though I think he's a spork.
He is a spork, yes.
Yeah, interesting. Played by Arrested Development's Tony Hale, we see Forky run away from the toy group as Woody goes after him. As they are chased after by very creepy puppet dolls, Woody runs into Bo Peep, who has been missing since Toy Story 2. So she's been gone for 20 years.
Nearly, yes.
Longer than we've been alive. That's kind of crazy. We also see Keanu Reeves' new character, a Daredevil action figure named Duke Kaboom, in a large carnival setting. Following Toy Story 3's heart-wrenching ending and the earlier reports that Toy Story 4 is devastatingly sad, we are excited to see what Pixar has in store for us. Toy Story 4 is in theaters June 21st. What do you think about that trailer, Dylan?
I think it's very exciting, and I think it's a good example of what Pixar can do with a good story. Like, Cars was, of course, stretched out too far. Yeah. We all know. And I think Toy Story is a good example of how an animated movie, or just a movie in general, can be told throughout multiple movies without quality declining, as evident with Toy Story 3 and hopefully Toy Story 4. Yeah. It looks very good.
It's probably one of the most consistent trilogies that there is, where every single one of them has been incredible.
Absolutely. We're going to have to bring tissues to the theater on that one, though, I'm sure.
I want that. I want to cry. I want to make it have me cry.
Me too. It just means it's all much better. Following the Toy Story 4 trailer came the first look at Quentin Tarantino's upcoming film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The movie follows Leonardo DiCaprio as Rick Dalton, a fading TV actor, and Brad Pitt as his stunt double Cliff Booth, as they strive to find fame in 1969 Hollywood. We also see several portrayals of Hollywood icons throughout, including Steve McQueen, Bruce Lee, Roman Polanski, and Sharon Tate. Throughout the trailer, we get a hold on Tarantino's Dreamland 60s Hollywood, which we have only seen in images up until now. The movie, which Tarantino describes as the closest he has gotten to Pulp Fiction, is set to release on July 26th. I've been following this story as soon as it was announced. I'm a huge Tarantino fan, and just the idea of a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, it's star-studded. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Al Pacino, Kurt Russell, all kinds of star power are added onto this film. Are you excited about it, Ryan?
I am. We were talking about it before the show started, how we thought it definitely looked like the most Pulp Fiction-y of his movies, and we were considering whether or not it was going to take on his non-linear approach that he likes to do, and whether this was going to be many different stories wrapped up into one movie. So either way, I think there's going to be a lot to be excited about with that.
Something that I've heard recently, actually, is that knowing that from his previous movie, Inglourious Basterds, what we know is that he likes to shake up history and rewrite history on his own. There's some theories stemming that the Manson murders might be prevented in this movie, rather than, of course, it's been described that the Manson murders are the backdrop to the story and not the story itself, but it is possible that somehow the Manson murders could be prevented in a way. And I think that's interesting. I don't know if it's a good idea, considering the controversy around those.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a controversial idea, but he's no stranger to controversy.
Absolutely.
And he hasn't backed down from it much, so that'll be something to look out for. And finally, we got a glimpse at Season 3 of Stranger Things. The season's tagline is, "One summer can change everything," and it is ominously foreshadowing the show's future and the importance of this season. It is also the first season to take place in the summer, which seems to be gloriously 80s filled, with summer camps, traveling carnivals, and blazing fireworks. We also got to look at Carrie Elwes. Yules. I knew it was going to be something like that. Take him as the mayor of Hawkins. And we also saw one of the most disgusting creatures we've ever seen in the series thus far. The full season will be available on Netflix this July 4th.
It absolutely looks disgusting. Yeah, I wrote that part, and I fully believe that this creature is nasty.
It definitely is nasty. I don't know, well, we were talking about it earlier as well. I don't know if they should have showed that in the trailer, but you were saying that it didn't seem like that was going to be the main monster that we see.
It's very,
and that's pretty terrifying if that's not the main monster. Like, that's
Exactly. There could very well be another monster lurking around any corner.
All right. And now we will recap the box office for March 15th and the 17th weekend and give you, of course, our breakdown on them. Dylan, what's the number one movie this past weekend? As if we just have no idea.
Well, as if there was any doubt, the Brie Larson-led Captain Marvel easily retained its crown for its second weekend with $67 million domestic. That is a 55% drop from its strong opening weekend of $153 million. We'll talk more about Captain Marvel's groundbreaking success later in the segment, but the takeaway is that this film is a certified box office hit.
Yep, and coming in far behind Marvel's 21st outing is Wonder Park, scrounging up $15 million in its debut weekend.
The number 3 spot goes to 5 Feet Apart, a romantic movie starring Cole Sprouse and Haley Lou Richardson as the star-crossed lovers. It grossed $12 million in its first round at the box office.
Coming in fourth is How to Train Your Dragons 3 with $9 million.
Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral took in $7 million to see spot number 5.
No Manches Frida 2 raked in $3 million in its first weekend.
Number 7 goes to another debut, Captive State. Rupert Wyatt, the director and screenwriter, certainly can't be happy with yet another critical and commercial stumble. Wyatt was the director for Rise of the Planet of the Apes,
which of course spawned a successful trilogy, but Wyatt was not affiliated with those later movies, which he's probably regretting now. Number 8 is Lego Movie 2, $2 million.
Number 9 goes to Alita Battle Angel, just below $2 million.
And rounding out the list is Green Book, still clinging on, and that got $1.2 million this weekend. And here's a fact that I know you're absolutely going to love, Dylan. Domestically, Green Book has made more money than Alita Battle Angel, with the difference of only $700,000, but it's $82 million each.
That's just criminal.
Yeah.
Criminal, if you ask me. That's disgusting. But despite that, our breakdown of this week's box office is much more positive. Domestically, Captain Marvel delivered a debut opening on par with the likes of The Dark Knight, The Hunger Games, and Rogue One.
That's right, and internationally, it was the 6th biggest worldwide debut ever, with an astounding $455 million. It was the third biggest March opening behind 2017's Beauty and the Beast and 2016's Batman vs. Superman.
Currently, Captain Marvel stands, or rather flies, proud at a $779 million worldwide total. Do note that this already beats out Guardians of the Galaxy's complete worldwide gross of $773 million. It is 2019's uncontested #1 movie thus far, at least until Endgame rolls around, and it is already one of Marvel's greatest commercial successes.
You're right, and it seems poised to reach the $1 billion club. An interesting side note to mention, though, is that Captain Marvel's opening weekend demographics showed 55% male and 45% female. While this is one of the smaller gender divides for the MCU, it does not compare to the headlining achievement Wonder Woman managed back in 2017 with an opening crowd of 52% women. I know Marvel would have liked to have that headline with all the success of its opening weekend.
I'm sure, but I think they're satisfied with the $779 million.
Well, yeah, money talks more than demographics.
Yeah, aside with the gender, it is undeniably the massive success Captain Marvel has already become financially, but is it a critical success as well, Ryan?
Well, don't hold your breath on this one being nominated for an Oscar. While it does have an A Cinema score, it has a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critic score. Of course, there was a whole controversy with the audience score. It was rampant with false ratings. But the general consensus is that Captain Marvel adheres to the tried and true formula that Marvel has created and perfected, and it adhered to that sufficiently enough. Both of us here at Box Office Breakdown have seen the film, and we've been anxiously anticipating sharing our own opinions, and that'll happen later in the show, so stay tuned. But in other news, you did see a different movie on Netflix this weekend called Triple Frontier. What'd you think of that?
Unfortunately, it is not as good as I had hoped. Triple Frontier follows 5 former special operatives as they attempt to rob $250 million from a South American drug kingpin. I found the story to be a little disorganized and overall just kind of bad.
I did see that it had quite the cast, though. Was the acting as disappointing as the story?
Not entirely. The cast performed as well as they could in the situation, but the story wasn't helping them out. The cast includes Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Pedro Pascal, Garrett Hedlund, and Charlie Hunnam. Of course, there are good things about this movie, one of which is the practical and special effects. Typically, action films are full of gross CGI that looks fake and annoys the audience, and for example, that would be like a Zack Snyder movie. I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder. But in Triple Frontier, the effects are smooth and realistic, including shootouts, helicopter crashes, and car chases. On top of that, I enjoyed the scenery in the latter half of the movie, which takes place in South America. The movie was shot on location in Hawaii and Colombia, and the locations are beautiful and reminds me of The Lord of the Rings or Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Doesn't Treasure of the Sierra Madre also deal with greed?
Yep. And that is another strong similarity between the two films. However, in Triple Frontier, the ending is much less satisfactory. Instead of paying for their greed, the characters get a sort of moral out for their misdeeds. Then, in the last seconds of the film, you see that the characters have not really lost their greedy ways, so in reality, there is no moral to the story. There's no lesson being learned. It's a movie about greeting people, getting away with it, and really only one character pays the price for his actions. And that's just kind of like not a good lesson, and also it kind of turns around at literally the last like 3 seconds and just doesn't leave you with anything to think about, and it's just really unsatisfactory.
Well, I mean, besides that, the movie doesn't seem as a whole too bad.
No, not at all. The movie was by no means a bad movie. It just had some bad elements. It is still enjoyable in some aspects, and I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Triple Frontier is available on Netflix now, and if you'd like to check out my full review, you can check it out on dmjfilmreviews.home.blog. That's dmjfilmreviews.home.blog. You can also check DMJ Film Reviews on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
All right, now we move into the predictions for this week's box office. The only notable wide release is Us, which, remember, was pushed back a week, most likely in the effort to avoid Captain Marvel's strong second-week numbers. This seems like it will give Jordan Peele's sophomore movie a huge opening of $48 million, well above Get Out's $33 million opening. What do you think it'll get?
Well, I know that Get Out was a huge success domestically and in foreign markets, grossing around $250 million worldwide, which is huge compared to their budget. It was a very low-budget movie. And I know that the current movie market is in need of a horror movie. I think Us will get a good head start this weekend with $50 million, while we see a sharp decline in Captain Marvel's box office.
Well, surely enough, we will have to wait to find out. I agree with you that 48 to the 55 million range is a pretty good bet for us. And I also think we'll see Captain Marvel start to slow down both domestically and internationally with the box office. All right. When we come back, we're going to be giving our review on Captain Marvel and naming the classic movie of the week. You're listening to Box Office Breakdown on WNSC, University of Central Florida, and this is Fox on the Run by Sweet. Welcome back to Box Office Breakdown, WNSC, University of Central Florida, Orlando. The time is 4:23, and the movie that everyone is talking about, apt as it is Women's History Month, is Captain Marvel. The film, of course, stars Brie Larson as the titular character and as the memoryless Veers, and she harnesses her powers in the midst of a battle between two alien races, the Kree and the Skrull. As the film progresses, we are given more glimpses into her life as Air Force pilot Carol Danvers, and the revelations regarding Veers' past are as powerful as she becomes.
She's supported on her venture in 1990's Earth by S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Nick Fury and Phil Coulson, played by a de-aged Samuel L. Jackson and Clark Gregg, respectively. There she confronts living relics of her past, the truth behind her powers and scattered memories, and what it means to be a hero of character. In Captain Marvel, we are given an origin story to one of the most powerful characters in the MCU, one that will no doubt be pivotal in Avengers Endgame and the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward.
Let's go through our impressions of the film as a whole and then work our way down to specifics. So Dylan, did you like it?
I did, to an extent. It is certainly one of the better origin stories to come out of the MCU. Plus, it is exciting to see Nick Fury's origins alongside Captain Marvel's. However, it seemed like the movie was made to make fun of the 90s for cheap laughs, and there is not enough depth to the movie as a second part.
Were you hurt that they made fun of the 90s?
No, not at all. It's just, I don't think it was played as well as they thought it would, and I thought the laughs were a little more cheap than real comedy could have given. But beyond that, the themes they bring up are on the nose, sort of, and in your face, whereas a good story will always link to its main idea in a more subtle fashion. It is still a strong movie to come out of the MCU, just not as strong as I had hoped.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I also liked it, but I feel that I liked more of what they were going for than what I actually saw on the screen. Character and theme are essentials to story, in my opinion, and there just seemed to be something lacking in these departments, with insufficient character development and unsatisfactory execution on part of the themes. For example, the theme regarding women being continuously told to repress and conquer their emotions, like in that training scene between Jude Law and Brie Larson's characters, I thought it was interesting to explore, but like you said, they just did it very on the nose, and it wasn't even emotions that Brie Larson's character was using, it was her powers. So I didn't really see how that connect, and she was never really overly emotional in any of the movie to where it was a hindrance, so it just that like kind of came out flat for me. And as for character, someone brought this up, and I agree, thinking back that Carol Danvers kind of came across like Robert Downey Jr. / Tony Stark attempt. Like it was a bad attempt at trying to do that, and it just didn't work as well because clearly, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is so charismatic, anyone trying to imitate that will fall short.
Understanding, yep.
So personally, I just felt there wasn't enough depth in her character to make me connect, and I thought that the supporting characters like Lashana Lynch's Maria Rambeau and Ben Mendelsohn's Talos were far more interesting.
Yeah, I can agree with that entirely. I thought Ben Mendelsohn's performance as the villainous Talos was very funny, very lighthearted, but also very sincere in his motives and his motivations. But I felt like the supporting cast in general was too interesting compared to Captain Marvel herself. I mean, we have Samuel L. Jackson in there and Clark Gregg, who we've known in the MCU for a decade now, and it's just too interesting to be just enamored with the one Captain Marvel. We have everything else who's supposed to be supporting her, but there's two amazing. But coming to Captain Marvel's character, rather than fleshing out the character and letting her develop, the screenwriters half wrote a character, sort of, and then let her develop at the end of the movie. They finished writing who she was. So it's kind of like what you're supposed to do when you're writing a story is you flesh out a full character, and then you let that character develop on their own. But what the screenwriters seem to have done, in my opinion, is they've half written a character. Maybe that's because of her memory loss or lazy writing, I'm not sure. But they've written half a character, and then at the end of the movie, you see the whole Captain Marvel. because they think that's how you transition from someone that's not full to someone that's full. What you should do is flesh it out and really let the character develop on their own.
I think they did what they do with the powers, how that's supposed to happen in superhero movies. You start out and they have some inkling of how it works, but not until the end is when it's really harnessed. And I think they did that with the character, thinking those two were the same thing.
Yeah, I can see that. As for the effects, there is no doubt Captain Marvel is a Marvel Studios blockbuster. We have seen Marvel utilize the de-aging process in prior movies like Ant-Man for Michael Douglas and Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They captured magic again, and the painstaking frame-by-frame process was worth it for Captain Marvel. Samuel Jackson and Clark Gregg, of course. Samuel Jackson's in his 70s and Clark Gregg is in his 50s or so, and they look youthful, completely youthful, and it paid off wonderfully. It was just the flawless of the de-aging shown. It gives me high hopes for a movie coming out later this year, which is Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, and it gives me such hope because the movie is set to de-age legendary actors Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Harvey Keitel, who I'm huge fans of, and they're de-aging them to look like they did back in the 70s and 80s when they're really in their prime in the movie field.
Let me ask you about that. Is that supposed to be, do we even know, is that supposed to be de-aging throughout the whole movie, or is that just for like select
flashback scenes?
Flashbacks, okay.
But a lot of the story is told through flashback scenes, so I would say at the least 50-50.
50-50.
But in general, these actors are still, even though they are older than they were when they were in their prime, of course, they are still as good at acting as they have ever been. Mm-hmm. And they're great actors and wonderful. Back to Captain Marvel, the effects regarding her powers quite literally glowed. It was a thrill each time to see Danvers' hands and later entire body light up with brilliant, colorful energy.
Yeah, that was certainly a high note in the film for me. And shifting gears, what did you think of the plot elements in this movie? We'll be avoiding any spoilers, so don't worry, but just to talk, there were a couple of twists in this movie that were executed fairly well. There weren't any jaw-dropping ones, per se, like the reveal in Spider-Man Homecoming, but the ones that were in Captain Marvel succeeded, and they did elevate the story to new heights. And of course, since the Skrulls are shapeshifters, there's always that sort of uncertainty regarding whether a character we were looking at was truly them, and that's always riveting when handled well, and I think Captain Marvel did handle it well. What did you think?
I thought the plot twist worked very well because there was just enough evidence for us to make the right conclusion, but nobody would ever reach that conclusion. Nobody would ever make that guess until it's too late. Mm-hmm. We should also mention, since this is a lighthearted comedy Marvel flick after all, the comedy is in this movie. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't think that the whole making fun of the 90s landed as well as they hoped it would, but apart from that, the jokes were very on point, and of course, Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson have a wonderful chemistry. They were also in Kong Skull Island, even though they were on opposing sides of the story. And I know Brie Larson is also directing a feature coming out sometime later this year, and Samuel L. Jackson also makes an appearance with her in the film. That's
pretty cool. They do make a good team, but for me, there certainly were hilarious parts, like the Flurgan/cat part was hysterical, but mostly I feel like some of the quips and jokes fell more flat than usually. But of course, like we said, Samuel L. Jackson was incredible. The chemistry they had was pretty good. But as for that one Nick Fury part, which we can neither confirm nor deny what happens, it was like an eye-rolling thing to me. Yeah. Like, I was like, really?
Really?
Because I called it, I was going to say it on the show, but then I was like, they're actually going to do it. So I decided not to. I thought it was going to be like an end credit scene, actually. One of the like funny Captain America video things.
Yeah.
But they put it in the actual movie. And I was like, why?
Well, I liked it, but coming back to what we were talking about earlier with the Skrulls being shapeshifters, I know there's a lot of rumors going about in terms of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. People are questioning why it took the MCU so long to introduce the Skrulls, and if there's a significance in introducing a shape-shifting alien race right before Endgame. Mm-hmm. So I know people are making guesses as to which Marvel character is actually a Skrull and not the character that they think is the character.
Yeah, that's what I was actually that's what I thought was going to be something they were going to go for, was because obviously this takes place before, chronologically, any of the Avengers films, so really any one of them could technically be Skrulls, or at some point they could have, like, a Skrull could have taken over that personality. So I think that's an interesting thing to think about. I know Marvel's Earth's Mightiest Heroes or something like that, a show that was on earlier, they did that storyline.
Yeah.
Where they revealed some of, I think Nick Fury or something like that was actually a Skrull. And it was, like, mind-blowing at the time. And I'm sure this will probably be more Phase 4, but I don't think they do anything like that for Endgames. But I think it would be very interesting and a new route to take.
I know there was one theory coming out from someone that I heard that was a little far-fetched, but it was kind of interesting, so I thought I'd share it. I know that the daughter, at the end of the movie, this isn't really a spoiler, but the daughter is looking at one of the Skrull kids. What's her name? Is it Monica or Maria?
Monica is
the daughter.
The daughter.
Monica Rambeau is... she's, what, like 11 or so? Mm-hmm. And she's sort of like looking at one of the Skrull kids, and there's an interaction there. And so there's a fan theory thinking that this Skrull girl stayed on Earth, and that she's taken Monica's place on Earth, and then...
Do you think Monica's gone off with the Skrulls?
It gets crazier. That's not really addressed, but it gets crazier. Somehow Thanos gets a hold of Monica Rambeau and starts to raise her as his daughter and deconstruct her, and so now this Skrull daughter becomes Nebula. That was the theory that I heard. It's very far-fetched, and it would be hard to explain.
Aren't the Skrull people green and Nebula blue?
Well, yes, but the theory implied that because there was so much deconstruction of her body going on that she could look completely different by the end of the robotization process. Because we don't know what Nebula's original race was, although it's listed in her actual comic book character, but not in the MCU. So, I mean, it's very far-fetched, and it's very far out there.
That sounds wild.
I just thought it was very interesting to listen to.
I think more likely is going forward with the Captain Marvel series. I think either Maria or Monica, one of those two, they're definitely going to become a Captain Marvel. Like, somehow they're going to acquire that power too. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to be off in space with Brie Larson doing who knows what. But going on to our final thoughts of Captain Marvel, it was a fun, if not compelling, superhero movie that centered on an undeveloped but promising main character. Hopefully in later films she will be more developed. I'm excited to see more from the Kree and the Skrull, and like I just said, the future for Maria and Monica Rambeau. And yeah, overall I'd give it a 3 stars out of 5.
I give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars because it was strong compared to other superhero origin movies, but it still came short as a movie in general for what we've discussed in terms of her character. But overall, it was still a strong outing for Marvel once again, and the MCU is still going further, farther, faster.
Yes. All right. We're going to take another break, but when we come back, the classic movie of the week will be named, so stick around. This is WNSC, University of Central Florida, and you are listening to Danny, California by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Welcome back to Box Office Breakdown WNSC, University of Central Florida, Orlando. The time is 4:41, and we're going to talk about some additional news about the DC Extended Universe, where there's reports that Ezra Miller is unhappy with the script that was presented to him, and now he's going to write his own script. Dylan, any thoughts about that?
I think it's a little strange for an actor to be given a role so prestigious as the Flash in the DC or a Marvel movie, just a superhero character, someone who has never written anything aside from some short documentary from 2015.
Yeah, a short documentary. I don't know how you write that.
I don't know how you write that, but to write a full DC movie, I don't know if he has the chops for it, or I don't know if it'll be better or worse. I don't even know if they'll keep him as the Flash, to be honest, at this point.
We were thinking because, of course, Ben Affleck is out as Batman, and we don't know if Henry Cavill is going to stay in the role of Superman because, I mean, there's no movies even slated where he would be involved as Superman. So we're thinking possibly this could be Ezra Miller on his way out as the Flash. And Dylan, who do you think, say that did happen, who do you think would replace him in this Flashpoint movie?
Well, it would have to be someone young and somewhat energetic enough. I'm not sure if I can pick a specific person. Possibly...
I can throw some names out and see.
Yeah.
Like, how about Ansel Elgort?
I don't know. I mean, I like... Maybe.
We'll see, because I don't really picture him in, like, the blockbuster sort of
I don't picture it either.
main character thing. What about Timothy Chalamet of Call Me By Your Name and
Oh, man.
Beautiful
I think you're
Boy
in
Success?
love with Timothy Chalamet or something.
No, I mean, that's a young actor.
He's a good actor, but I don't think he would do a superhero movie unless it was Marvel. I don't think... I think...
You think he would
He seems
do
like
Marvel?
the kind of person that would do Marvel over DC. And just
if he
wouldn't-
did superhero
If
in
he
general?
did a superhero movie, yeah, he seems like a Marvel boy.
Interesting.
It just doesn't seem like the career choice he would make at this point.
What about... I mean, to be honest, man, Tom Holland probably would have been a good Flash if he wasn't perfect for Spider-Man.
I think he's a better Spider-Man by far.
I mean, for sure.
I picture Flash as someone that seems a little bit older, like maybe like college, like late college, like a
And,
senior in college.
I mean, they don't even have to go with, like, the Barry Allen story. I mean, that could possibly be how they write around Ezra Miller being gone, because they could do Wally West, stuff like that.
Perhaps. But, I mean, with Ezra Miller and the DCEU in general, we're not sure what's going to happen. All that we know is what's slated so far, which is recently Shazam, which is going to be coming out early April, and I'm going to go see it early on this Saturday.
Ooh.
So next Thursday we will have our Shazam review before Shazam even comes out.
Well, one
so
of
be
us
sure to
will.
listen to it. I will, yes. But I'll share it with you. I'll tell you everything that happens.
Other than that, we are now going to talk about some other massive news, and it's the merger that just yesterday morning has gone through that will no doubt change the entertainment landscape forever.
Yes, that's right. Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox to the tune of $71 billion, that's billion with a B, is complete. This is incredibly significant, as Fox was one of the original Hollywood studios and, until just recently, was one of the 6 remaining studio giants. Disney now only has to contend with Warner Bros., Sony, Universal, and Paramount.
This merger pushes us one step closer to the Disney monopoly, which is getting more truth than a joke each day that goes by. And this business decision comes with a threat of expected layoffs for thousands of employees as the studio cuts away duplicate positions.
The acquisition brings plenty of new titles and properties to Disney's catalog, from X-Men, Simpsons, and Fox Searchlight, and a 30% stake in Hulu, giving Disney 60% of Hulu overall. Disney seems to be gearing up for the release of its Disney Plus streaming service. The corporation has already stated that much of its extensive library will be available on the service. And with everything it is gaining from this deal, the streaming service appears poised to challenge Netflix at its own game, and frankly might win.
These are certainly changing times in the industry. What do you think about all of that?
There's a lot of interesting things going on here. I know that we all know that Disney acquired Lucasfilm a while ago, which gave it its rights to Star Wars, distribution rights to Star Wars.
Which used to be connected with Fox.
But the one thing Fox kept was Star Wars A New Hope, the distribution rights for that movie. And so now that Disney has that, it is potential that Disney will re-release the movie in its original form rather than George Lucas's edits, which were
That's a good word for it.
not so good. Those are the only versions you can find these days, are the New Hope versions with George Lucas's edits, and they are sort of silly. Not very good.
He's destroying his own masterpiece. It was kind of terrible.
It's kind of like he brought the prequels and let it leak into the originals a little bit, which is kind of sad. So maybe Disney will wipe up that leak.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, Disney is also acquiring Avatar, the James Cameron series that is said to have 4 new sequels coming up in 2021.
I believe it starts 2021, and then it has one the year after, and then it takes a
gap
year break or something like.
Because I know they filmed the first 2 together, so now they're both in pre-production right now.
Or post-production?
The last 2 are in pre-production right now, and the first 2 sequels are in post-production, and they're going to wrap that up and release them one year after another, sort of how Lord of the Rings did.
Yeah, how do you feel about 4 Avatar movies that have been announced, even though we haven't even seen one of those sequels.
I was not the biggest fan of Avatar, the first Avatar. That's just because I'm not a fan of CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And what I
mean, they had good CGI, though.
The CGI was very good. And it'll be even better now that we have even better advances in the technology.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was interesting to see all the world creating and stuff. But in general, it was very long. It's a very long movie, and it's very, I don't want to say monotonous, but drawn on.
Yeah.
I just don't like the CGI. It's too much.
I get that. I kind of liked it when I first saw it.
At some point, it becomes an animated movie if you're just going to use that much CGI.
I know. I thought it was pretty good. I actually didn't know what movie I was going to go see. I thought it was going to be the last Airbender movie.
Yeah.
And then actually it had blue people in it, and I was very confused. But I still liked it very much when I first saw it in theaters, like a decade ago.
Better than the last Airbender movie.
It was better. Yeah. But, I mean, not by much. It wasn't that great of, like, a story, but obviously the visuals were incredible, and then it started that whole 3D trend.
Of course. Along with this, I mean, Disney acquiring Fox is supporting my theory that this is the year of Disney, because Disney has, of course, acquired Marvel and Star Wars. So,
every year is the year of Disney, though.
But this year is exceptional in terms of the money they're going to make from movies and theme parks, because they have Star Wars coming out this December. They have Captain Marvel that just came out and made a huge buttload of money. Avengers Endgame that'll make even more money. The live action remakes they're doing with Lion King, Dumbo, and
Aladdin.
Aladdin, thank you. And Pixar coming out with Toy Story 4.
Oh my god!
And
let's count off the $1 billion movies.
Oh,
because Captain Marvel, we see, is going to head there, or at least close.
Avengers Endgame.
$2 billion.
Star Wars will get pretty up in there.
It'll pass $1.5 billion for sure.
I think maybe the live action remakes combined will be about $500 million.
Really?
I think so.
$500 million? All of them?
So. Combined.
Lion King's going to go $1 billion, I'm telling you.
I don't think so. I don't think it'll make that much
Lion
money.
King, I think, has the most appeal.
They don't have enough promotion, though.
They did very smart casting. I think they'll ramp that up. I mean, it'll probably be a trailer for Endgame, and they'll ramp it up more. Yeah. I think that's the beauty of it. They have so many films that are just huge that are cross-promoting. I don't think Aladdin will do well, nor Dumbo, but I think Lion King is going to make a lot of money.
What I think is going to make the most money for maybe not the most money, but a lot of money for Disney is their new Star Wars Galaxy Edge theme parks they have 2 theme parks opening, one in Anaheim, California at Disneyland, and one here in Orlando area for Disney World. Now, I've done extensive research on this. Extensive.
Are you very excited?
I'm very excited. I've gone to Disney World. I've gone to Hollywood Studios. I've climbed walls to try and peek in. I've waited in lines to ride rides that go high up so I can look inside. I've done all kinds of things. I've found images, and they're just starting to release new information about it, including a build-your-own lightsaber store, a build-your-own robot store, several different clothing stores, new foods and drinks akin to Star Wars, like the blue milk seen in A New Hope and the green milk seen in The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
they have a whole milk stand dedicated to that. A shop where you can get animals from the universe, presumably stuffed, I'm assuming.
We hope.
And 2 new rides, one of which is a Millennium Falcon theme ride, where you actually control the Millennium Falcon with a group of, I think, 6. And yeah, I can see the disgust on your face. It's
not a disgust. That is gonna. Oh my god, the lines for that stuff is gonna be insane.
They predict a 10-hour line for the Millennium Falcon.
Excuse me while I
10-hour line, and I know they're having some difficulty with it because if you're in a small group, you're paired with another group to come in and control the Millennium Falcon. So if they mess up, you mess up, and that carries on through the park with live actors who know that you failed in the mission. Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
god.
Not kidding. They'll know and they'll confront you about it. And then the other ride that's expected to release later this year is the Rise of the Resistance ride. That is supposed to be a 19-minute ride that involves a sit-down drive-through of a hangar with 2 full-size AT-ATs. A walkthrough of Star Destroyer kind of thing, and then a sit-down live show featuring Kylo Ren. So that's got to be at least 10-hour wait. when it opens later this year.
It's literally, I say it all the time about these parks. It's just like stand in line simulators.
Yeah.
That's going to be absurd. And you're right. You think Disney's on top of the world with their media companies, but with their parks, they're just so insanely
Let me tell you this
rich.
much about the lightsabers, which I've done even more research on.
I mean, they're like fake, like plastic.
No. They're advanced.
They're advanced.
Disney put a patent down for a new kind of lightsaber that has, you know, the model ones with the detachable hilts, so that like
Yeah.
they look realistic but they don't retract.
Mm-hmm.
These retract, and they look real. They put out a new patent for it with a retractable LED, kind of like a tape roller. You know, a tape roller, so
Yeah.
it retracts in and out, and it has the sounds, and it's realistic. And it's gonna be kind of like
How much is that going to cost? To have?
$160 for the hilt and the.
That's not
blade.
even that bad, though, for a straight up lightsaber, bro.
They're kind of copying what Universal did with the Harry Potter ones, where you can have the customized, but they're making customization even more unique. You go in, it's a small experience with like 14 other people, and you go in and you design your lightsaber based on one of 4 different themes, whether it's like justice or like the traditional Jedi or Sith or nature with like Rancor teeth and things like that, and Biolark tree bark, and or some mysterious Jedi theme that I've yet to hear more about. And you can pick from 4 colors, which are red, green, blue, and purple, of course. I wish there were more color options, but that's fine. I'll probably be getting a green one. I gotta save up my money for one of those lightsabers.
You're a green lightsaber person?
Yeah, I am. What are you, blue?
Yeah.
I figured.
Well, I mean, you know red's my favorite color, but I would probably put purple.
Really? You going with like Sammy J?
Yeah, of course. Mace Windu, Samuel.
It looks very exciting, and Disney's gonna make so much money from this.
It's absurd.
Because they've got 2 parks opening with this.
I
and
would
it's
love
crazy.
to see the amount of money
I've seen
daily.
I've seen images of Star Wars, like the Galaxy's Edge theme park, and I've peeked inside as best as I could, and it looks phenomenal. Like, you think Harry Potter looks realistic for Harry Potter? Wait till you'll see Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's like they took you to this planet called Batu at Black Spire Outpost, and it's just blows my mind. And it's the biggest theme park expansion they've ever done to any park. The one down in Hollywood Studios down here in Orlando. The biggest expansion to a theme park ever done. It's, I think, somewhere near 15 acres of land. So it's nearly doubling the size of Hollywood Studios just for Star Wars, which is
go bigger.
absolutely worth it.
I mean, Star Wars is an incredible thing.
And that's adding it to the Star Tours
I really
ride.
hope the 9th movie is good, because like Endgame's kind of stealing the thunder,
It is.
because Last Jedi wasn't so amazing. But hopefully, as we get closer, we'll get more excited and ramped up. Because I mean, Star Wars is just a phenomenon. That's insane.
I think it should be good.
Okay.
It's time to name the classic movie of the week. Each week we induct a movie that is aesthetically significant as a film and a work of art into the classic movie of the week list. What is our inductee this week, Ryan?
Well, in the vein of Captain Marvel, we're going for the 90s, and so it can be none other than the crime classic Pulp Fiction. Legendary director Quentin Tarantino tells interweaving stories of hitmen, gang lords, diner bandits, and a boxer that never quits. Told in a non-linear style, Pulp Fiction reaches new heights in storytelling abilities and achieves unparalleled perfection.
Released in 1994, Pulp Fiction was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for John Travolta, Best Actor and Actress in Supporting Roles for Samuel L. Jackson and Uma Thurman, respectively, and Best Director. It won for Best Writing Original Screenplay, the first win for screenwriters Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery. It also took home the same award at the Golden Globes and the BAFTAs.
Pulp Fiction also launched the careers of Uma Thurman, Quentin Tarantino, and Samuel L. Jackson, while also reinvigorating John Travolta's career, much like Iron Man did to Robert Downey Jr.
Known as the pinnacle of 90s cinemas, Pulp Fiction is innovative and fresh, so much so that it stands out as one of the best films of 1994, alongside Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, and The Lion King, and it is one of the best films of all time. That was our classic movie of the week. If you have a suggestion, please email us at boxofficebreakdown@gmail.com. That's boxofficebreakdown@gmail.com.
That was your classic movie of the week, and now it's time to look ahead at next week.
Next Thursday, we'll be back here to give full reviews of both Us and Shazam. I'm very excited to see Us. Are you going to see Us at all?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
I'm excited to see Shazam, too. I mean, it's been hailed as the best DC movie so far, which isn't saying much, but it
Wonder Woman
good.
and Aquaman were steps up.
Well,
Shazam
sure.
hopefully will, like...
It's the deal.
You can tell the tone by the trailers, and hopefully it's going to stick to that. And that I am excited to see. I don't know if I'm going to see it this weekend or not, but...
I love Shazam. I think it's really great. I mean, I love the character Shazam, and I think it's going to be a good movie because I like Zachary Levi, and he's very funny. And it just looks like a very fun and lighthearted
And the
movie,
kid,
which DC needs.
one of the kids was from It, and
Yes,
he was good in that.
He is good in that.
And I think the other kid is supposed to be, like, they're good actors. So hopefully that'll be a good movie all around. Very fun.
I'm very excited.
And our movie recommendation this week is, of course, Us from Jordan Peele. It is said to be the fantastic horror movie of 2019 and a strong follow-up to Get Out.
If you're looking for something a little less scary, Captain Marvel is still in theaters.
And if you were in the mood for a rom-com, Isn't It Romantic and 5 Feet Apart are your best option for this weekend. And of course, if you have Netflix, we recommend that you stream Pulp Fiction as soon as you can. You won't regret it.
But don't watch Trouble Frontier. You might regret it.
Yes.
We are at the end of our show now, and we would like to thank all of our listeners for tuning in.
Box Office Breakdown is brought to you by WNSC, University of Central Florida, Orlando.
If you would like to give your thoughts on the show, you can email us at boxofficebreakdown@gmail.com. And also make sure to check out DMJ Film Reviews on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and online for reviews on Triple Frontier and Captain Marvel.
Our main title theme is Tongue and Beak by Sid Dale, and our outro music is Cool Daddy Charm by Heinz Kissling.
And of course, be sure to tune in next Thursday from 4 to 5. Thank you for listening.